Hello and welcome to episode 91 of the Fundraising Bright Spots podcast. This is the show for anyone who works in fundraising and who wants some ideas and maybe a dose of encouragement to help you enjoy your job and raise more money for your charity. And if you work with major donors or mid-level donors, or you manage someone who does this, then I hope you're going to find this episode a valuable listen. Because today I'm proud to share another interview full of tips and examples from a very successful fundraiser named Lynda Harwood-Compton, who is head of philanthropy in the UK at a charity called Animals Asia. I always learn so much from my chats with Lynda, partly because she's endlessly curious and trying new ways to improve relationships with donors, and partly because this approach is working so well. Put simply, each year for the last 3 years, Lynda has taken on a more ambitious budget target, and each year she's exceeded that target, enabling her charity to continue to further its mission. I originally got to know Lynda when she took part in the Major Gifts Mastery program that we run for major donor fundraisers. And if you're a regular listener to this show, you may remember Lynda from other episodes we've done, most recently episode 87, where we talked about how she goes about engaging supporters. In our conversation, we explored how she uses WhatsApp and working effectively across teams within the charity, among other things. This time, I'm sharing the second half of our recent chat, and the first thing I wanted to find out was Lynda's advice on treating each donor differently. I hope you find our conversation helpful. Hello Lynda, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there, hi, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. At a very busy time of year. How are you doing?
Really good, yeah, really good. I mean, it's the busiest time of year, isn't it, for charities at the minute? But yes, it's going really, really well, thank you.
Thank you, Lynda. I think there's a belief you've got about the importance of trying to understand what's going on for them. In my book, and on my courses, I say, we really want to do this stuff well. Step one is to try and understand and appreciate their model of the world. Because any two of your donors, they both care deeply about your cause and protecting those animals and protecting the environment and so on. But actually their model for why or how, it just will be a bit different, won't it? So what tips do you have for our listeners about doing that thing, which is easy to say, but actually in practice isn't always easy to do, especially if someone is a bit more private, for instance?
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely a case of one size doesn't fit all with fundraising, major donor fundraising. It doesn't, and that's why you've got to get to know your donors and have lots of different, options and lots of different tactics to engage them and get to know them. But the simplest thing, and I sometimes think people forget this, is ask the donor what they want. What is it we can do for them? What works for them? Rather than us just trying to guess. I think they want an email. Ask them. And that happened with me with a donor when I came back from maternity leave. Normally it'd been email. That's what they like to communicate. And I was emailing and I didn't have a response. And I thought, that's funny. Like that's not like them at all. So I thought, I'm just going to drop them like a quick WhatsApp and just make sure they're okay. And they came back straight away and went, oh goodness, yeah. They said, you know what, we're done with emails, like all these emails in the last, lockdown and all that. We're using WhatsApp now. So if you need us, just WhatsApp us. And that's my main communication with them. And we're happy with that. And that works. And, back and forth, nice, short, concise bits of information, which works really well. And I think things are changing as well. And another thing I was going to say is trust. We are all about trust is we're the relationship manager, and that's something like to not forget. Although we're getting people involved from other areas of the charity, you're still the linchpin that's holding it all together, and you're the one that they trust. And an example of that is things like cases for support and whatnot, sending them out. I'm finding a real change with that at the minute. I've said to people a couple of times, I'm going to send you a case for support, the proposal or whatnot, and they've said to me, no, can we just jump on a Zoom and can you just tell me? Can you just, I trust what you're going to say. Can you just tell me what it is? I don't need to read through the 5 pages. And that works so well now. I like that, actually. I like that. And you can, have the questions back and forth. And quite often towards the end, they're like, right, okay, let me go away and think about this, but it's looking good.
Thank you, Lynda. And just listening to you, I can totally hear how much you care about each of these kind people who give to help those animals. And I hear that you're emotionally intelligent and you see that that's important to listen to them and do things in a bespoke way. But also, I know that can be hard to do and be efficient and, for instance, look after our work-life balance and to do it in an organized way that's not overwhelming. What are your couple of tips for our listeners to help achieve both of those things?
First of all, the CRM is your friend. Use it to its maximum capacity. I mean, my CRM is opened all day, every day, constantly using it. And it's simple things like, your prospect plan on your CRM. I have like dates when I should be doing certain things, and then I have a reminder come through from the CRM to say, have you done this for this donor yet? Have you sent this email or sent this report? So that keeps me on track as well. And simple things like, I was talking about the WhatsApp and sending things from the sanctuary. Essentially I'm hitting forward and sending it to, several donors. I'm not sending each of those donors hi, this is Lynda, like, how are you? Here's something from the sanctuary. They know that's the way we're communicating now. They know that's from the sanctuary. They see that's a forward. I'm the messenger in that situation. So you have to make it, it's busy. You can't just be constantly stewarding and cultivating. You've got to, do your prospect research and the rest of it. And other things like, personalised films. So we did personalised films for donors whose bears have been rescued. And obviously that's a lot of work for our comms team as well. But, you can get around it by topping and tailing, so it might be the main body of the film is the same, but the topping and tailing is more personalised. Or thank you messages, again, same thank you message, just topped and tailed with personalisation.
So sorry, Lynda, can I just get a sense of what one of those tactics looks like? So a donor who's funding the rescue or the care of a particular bear, a thing you do is send them footage about that bear after the rescue or whatever that's taken by someone out in the field, and your comms team have got that footage anyway, and then how long is it? And then did you say that you can use that same film for more than one donor? And if you record a little before and a little clip that goes at the beginning and at the end, are you doing that on Zoom or on a smartphone? Just any practical tips for how to do this tactic, which many of us like the idea of, but what's your technique?
That example was actually like a rescue. So the middle section was like lots of different bears. So everyone's bear was in that footage. And then we topped and tailed it with a little bit of specific footage of that person's bear and a thank you. That one was professionally done, actually. That was our comms team and the filming team in China. But otherwise, we will do, smartphone, grassroots. This is what's happening now. And ideally, if you can get like that video where there's maybe 6 bears together, then that's better than just doing each individual bear, because I can send that to those 6 donors who have those bears. And it never has to be long. I think the one that I was talking about initially for the rescue, where we did the rescue, I think that was about 2.5 minutes long, but that's probably one of our longest. People don't have time. They want to just see something quick, and especially if a lot of people are looking at it on their phone. So yeah, that's how we went about that one, and we just try and make it as efficient as possible.
To what extent does your footage go together with that film that someone else has created for you in another team?
I don't personally go onto the videos because they see me all the time on Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever. So they see me often. I do the personalised bit. I would have somebody from the sanctuary do it and say thank you, because they don't see them every day.
And am I right to think that the sanctuary person would thank that donor by name, or is that not quite right?
Yes, yeah, they would, yeah. So that would be for like a major donor. Say it was for like a mid-level donor, or it was for like a bunch of mid-level donors. I would get the sanctuary staff person to say something generic like, thank you for all your support over the past couple of years. Explain like, you've been part of this solution. If it was a major donor that contributed a lot, then I would have it specifically for that person.
Thank you, Lynda. And I just have such a strong sense of the difference that watching that footage, even imperfect, even just 2 or 3 minutes, must make to the donor who's paid for that rescue or that care to happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They watch the video and they're just blown away. And their next question is, what can I do now? How can I help now? What's next? How do we save the bears from Vietnam? How can I be part of this next part of the Animals Asia story? Which is incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and I don't think I need to see data to get a strong sense that someone who has got this really powerful connection, even if they're just on a train or they're just relaxing on their sofa, and on their phone is this footage that their money enabled to happen to make the world a better, kinder place for those animals. Those people are just going to be happier with their support, less likely to cancel, more likely to say, yes, please, I want to be generous next time, than if they haven't, been connected to that story. Hi, it's Rob, and I want to jump in quickly to let you know about our two flagship courses, the Major Gifts Mastery Programme and the Corporate Mastery Programme, which are a combination of masterclasses and one-to-one coaching to help fundraising professionals to grow their confidence and their results. To give you a sense of the difference these programs can make, here's what one fundraiser, Paul Davies, said about how it helped him.
Hi, I'm Paul. I'm Head of Communications and Development at Manchester Camerata. We're an orchestra and charity, and I've recently done the Major Gifts Mastery Programme, and I can honestly say it's worth its weight in gold. I was meeting on average 6 people a month, and now I'm meeting around 20, and we've recently launched our COVID-19 appeal, and we've had an amazing start, and I've just secured what is the largest gift any individual's given to the charity in the past. Yeah, do it.
If you'd like to find out more about either programme, go to brightspotfundraising.co.uk/services. For now, let's get back to my conversation with Lynda as we explore why and how she works hard to find so many real examples to share with her charity's supporters. I suppose my next question is to do with storytelling. I remember when you were on my mastery program, you were really interested from the very start about storytelling and ways we can make that easier and we can be more proactive about sharing real examples.
Yeah, I mean, stories are such a huge part of what we do as major donor fundraisers, emotional storytelling. And like, I think what I always say is, like, when we say emotional storytelling, it doesn't need to be negative. We don't need to bring, the tears. Positive emotion is what we're going for. And, as you teach on your course, it's about what is the problem, and let me tell you how we solved that. It's the who, what was the problem, what was the action, which is where the charity is going to come in and find that solution. And we want the donor to hear that story and be like, oh, I can be part of the solution, because what we're doing is, and I remember you've said this, you say it in your course, we're not asking donors for money, we're helping them. Like, we want their help to solve a problem. And storytelling really, really does that. And I think as well, the thing I wanted to say about storytelling is have a variety in your story bank, because there's no point in me telling a story about elephants when I know that donor is actually really passionate about bears. So make sure you find a problem that the donor cares about and show them how they can help. And I just think stories, they're memorable, they're tangible, they build rapport, they show what we are doing is working as well. So for me, storytelling is so important. And again, the fact that I could give a 5-page essay about why you should support Animals Asia, or I can give you a 3-sentence story, and it's a 3-sentence story that's going to make the difference. And that's why stories are so important.
Yes, that makes sense, Lynda. And from our past conversations, I remember that you don't just save the stories for a presentation. They're not just for an event. Like, they might be in WhatsApp, they might be in a Zoom call, they might be in a phone conversation, they might be in an email, they might be in a thank you letter. Wherever possible, you're trying to drip these real examples of the difference the donors' gifts are making.
Yeah, absolutely. And a recent example was actually an email, a little couple of sentence story to a donor. And I'd said to him, have your tissues ready. There's going to be happy tears at the end of these 3 sentences. And it was essentially a story about a bear that we had rescued. So like you say, Rob, we have what the problem is, we have what the action is, which is, in this case, it was Animals Asia rescuing this little bear cub, and what the result is. And so I sent it to him, and a couple of minutes later he emailed back and he said, I'm sitting on a train right now, and the train conductor's asked if I'm okay because I've got tears streaming down my face with happiness. And I think that just says all the impact of storytelling, that he can be sitting on a train reading a 3-sentence email and have tears running down his cheeks.
Yeah, I can picture that. And here's the crux, isn't it? One could just intellectually describe how important it is to rescue animals that are being cruelly treated. But there is nothing like being able to include a real example of that happening, especially if it happened because of the donor's own generosity. Nothing compares to that in helping someone reconnect to some values they hold dear. And when we connect to values we hold dear, human beings, we are emotional. We react. We feel things more deeply. And I love the fact that there are happy tears. I mean, sometimes charities can get a bad name if we say story or case study, and it can be misunderstood to only ever be about upsetting people and talking about the bad stuff. In truth, I sense the majority of your narrative is that story arc you just told me of these problems are happening, and we tend, with your help, to get these results for this thing you care about. So thank you for sharing that example. Lynda, I think you mentioned in a recent conversation with me the power of, I guess, what Professor Robert Cialdini would call social proof,
Yeah,
which our listeners probably are aware of. But could you give me that example of how you've proactively used that to help other donors feel part of the family or be willing to consider an extra step?
Absolutely. So we actually also use major donor testimonials as well. Because it's fine for me to say how amazing it is, but when you actually have somebody who is part of the family, who is a donor and is telling, why they're part of the family and why they support Animals Asia, it's really powerful. So we have a bear guardianship program, and we had testimonials from bear guardians just explaining, what it means to them, why they did it, and why they're going to continue to support Animals Asia. And it's quite funny, we had a testimonial from each country, and I had like the feedback saying like, oh, I really, really like, from the person that did the testimonial, I really, really like this person's testimonial and this person's testimonial. So it's working even if you write the testimonial. So that's something that I think is really, really important, is, bring your major donors on board as well.
Yeah, and the heart of it is people, they like to give money if money is one thing that can help solve a problem they care about, but they really enjoy helping in other ways, or certainly being asked, so that they can weigh up whether they can help in these other ways, so that they're being a supportive part of the family is holistic rather than only about the cash. Though, of course, hooray, that your charity needs the cash as well. So we need to finish fairly soon, Lynda, but I just wonder if there's any more couple of ideas that you wanted to share with our listeners that you've learned along the way, or you've learned sort of, originally you might have known it as some common sense or a cliche, but now your journey in fundraising has helped you get a sort of a depth to a couple of these principles. What would you add?
I would say never give up. Never give up. So most people, if you're trying to re-engage or engage someone, they'll try 2 or 3 times. They might try it a couple of different ways, and then they think, I'm not hearing anything back here. I'm going to leave it. But I was actually reading that it normally takes seven attempts to get that full connection with someone, which seems a lot, but go with it, because you never know when that is going to be your leading major donor. So don't rule anyone out. But also, like, celebrate your successes as well. We're doing a tough job and we're doing really, really well at it. And I think the other thing to say is really that what we do is all about relationships. And the more you get to know a donor, I promise you, the more successful you're going to be getting to know those donors and taking them on that journey with you.
It really makes such a difference if we hold to a belief that if someone cares about our charity and they've given, There could be 100 reasons why they've not quite got round to responding yet, and to keep doing our best to make it easy for them to connect again. So Lynda, thank you ever so much for sharing all these ideas again for the podcast. I really appreciate it. I really look forward to catching up with you again to see how you're getting on. But for now, best of luck with your fundraising, and we will speak again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hope you found our conversation helpful. If so, and you've not yet subscribed to this podcast, please do remember to do that today. As always, you can see a short summary and a full transcript of this conversation in the episode notes, which are on the podcast section of our website, which is brightspotfundraising.co.uk. And if you're interested in boosting your confidence and knowledge to help you lift high-value fundraising results, then do check out our Corporate Mastery and Major Gifts Mastery programs. You'll experience the same level of training and individual coaching support that Lynda received when she attended the course a few years ago. The next programs start in April 2022, and at the time of publishing this, there is a super early discount available. To find out more, head over to brightspotfundraising.co.uk/services. If you enjoyed today's episode and you'd like to share it with your team or on social media, thank you ever so much. It really does help us to get these out to help as many good causes as possible. If you'd like to get in touch on Twitter, Lynda is @LatchLynda and I am @Woods_Rob, and we're both on LinkedIn. Finally, thank you so much for listening today, and I look forward to sharing more Bright Spot stories and ideas with you very soon.